I'm glad to have you here. Follow my story until the end and comment the city you're watching from. Trust me, you're going to want to hear every word of this. The call came on a Thursday morning while I was in the cockpit 35,000 feet over Kansas. Captain Morrison, you have a call from your home number on the emergency line. My co-pilot Dave gave me that look, the one every pilot dreads seeing. Emergency calls during flights meant one thing and one thing only. Something was seriously wrong. My hands found the headset before my brain finished processing. I was already running through every terrible possibility. Heart attack, car accident. One of the grandkids fell off the swing set. Little Mia had been climbing everything in sight lately, and I'd told Karen 100 times that the playground equipment in the backyard needed better padding underneath. Hello, Linda? It wasn't Karen's voice. It was Mrs. Rodriguez, our 72-year-old neighbor. Well, 82 now, she always corrected me when I got it wrong. 82 years old, sharp as a tack, and the kind of woman who noticed everything on our quiet suburban street. Mrs. Rodriguez, is Karen okay? What happened? She's fine. Physically, she's fine. There was a long pause. The kind that makes the air feel heavier. The kind that tells you the next words out of someone's mouth are going to rearrange the furniture in your life. Linda, I'm so sorry to call you like this, but I couldn't wait. There's something you need to know. I gripped the controls tighter. Dave glanced at me again. I waved him off. What is it? Tell me. I need you to check your home security cameras when you land, the ones in your living room and driveway. Check the footage from yesterday afternoon, around 2 o'clock, and Tuesday, and the Thursday before that. My stomach did something it hadn't done since my first solo flight 40 years ago. What are you talking about? There's a young man, blue sedan. He comes every Tuesday and Thursday, always at 2, always when you're gone on your long flights. She paused again. I could hear her breathing, could hear the weight of what she was about to say pressing down on her. He stays for 3, sometimes 4 hours. I thought maybe he was a contractor at first, a plumber, an electrician. But then I noticed same car, same schedule, same man. For 3 months now, Linda. 3 months. The cockpit felt like it was shrinking around me. The instrument panel blurred. The horizon line outside the windshield tilted in a way that had nothing to do with the actual plane. Are you sure? I wish I wasn't. Her voice cracked. And when an 82-year-old woman's voice cracks, you know she's not being dramatic. She's being honest in a way that costs her something. I debated calling you for 2 weeks, she continued. 2 weeks I went back and forth. But my husband, God rest his soul, he passed 12 years ago. And before he died, I found out he'd had someone on the side for 3 years. 3 years, Linda. I closed my eyes. Everyone knew, she said. The neighbors, his co-workers, even our own children suspected. But nobody told me. They all thought it wasn't their business. They all decided it was better to let me live in the dark. I could hear the old wound in her voice. Time hadn't healed it. Time had just taught her to carry it differently. When I finally discovered the truth, I felt like such a fool. Not because of what he did that was on him, but because everyone around me had watched it happen and said nothing. They let me walk around smiling, cooking his dinner, ironing his shirts, while he was out there making me look like an idiot. She took a breath. I swore that day. I swore on my mother's grave that if I ever saw it happening to someone else, I would not stay silent. I would not be one of those people who looks the other way. Silence. Linda, are you still there? I'm here. I'm sorry, honey. I'm so sorry. I landed that plane on autopilot. And I don't mean the aircraft's autopilot system. I mean my body went through every checklist, every procedure, every radio call while my mind was somewhere over Texas, stuck in a loop replaying Mrs. Rodriguez's words like a black box recording after a crash. Same car, same schedule. 3 months, 214 passengers. That's how many souls were on that Boeing 777 that I brought safely to the ground in Phoenix. 214 people who had no idea that the woman flying their plane had just had her world cracked open at 35,000 feet. I've been a pilot for 38 years. I was one of the first women to make captain at my airline. I've flown through hurricanes. I've landed with one engine out over the Pacific. I've made decisions in 3 seconds that most people don't have to make in a lifetime. But nothing prepared me for what I was about to see on those cameras. The moment I reached the crew lounge at Sky Harbor, I pulled out my phone. My fingers were steady. Years of training had taught me that much. When everything inside you is screaming, your hands stay calm. That's what keeps people alive. I opened the home security app. Karen had insisted we install the system last year after a rash of burglaries in the neighborhood. 4 cameras, driveway, front door, living room, kitchen. For our safety, she'd said. Ironic. She'd been the one who wanted cameras everywhere. She'd picked out the brand, scheduled the installation, tested every angle. She'd even made sure the living room camera captured the whole space, couch, coffee table, the bay window where I'd hung the wind chimes she gave me for our 20th anniversary. I never questioned it. Why would I? My wife wanted to feel safe while I was away. That was reasonable. That was loving. That was Karen. I scrolled back to Tuesday. 2 days ago, 1:55 p.m. The driveway was empty. Our house sat there looking the way it always did, brick front, white shutters, the rose bushes I'd planted the year we moved in. Peaceful. Normal. Hours. 2:03 p.m. A blue Honda Civic pulled in. Not fast, not slow. Casual. Like it belonged there. A man got out. Late 20s, athletic build. Brown hair that fell across his forehead in that carefully careless way young men wear it. He was wearing gym clothes, fitted gray t-shirt, black joggers, white sneakers. He walked to our front door like he owned the place. He didn't knock. He didn't have to. Karen opened it before his hand even reached for the bell. She must have been watching from the window. Waiting. She was wearing the white sundress. The one with the little blue flowers along the hem. The one I'd bought her for our anniversary last year. I'd found it in a boutique in Savannah during a layover, and I'd thought of her the moment I saw it. I'd imagined her wearing it at Sunday brunch or on the porch with her morning coffee or dancing in the kitchen the way she used to when her favorite song came on the radio. I never imagined her wearing it for this. She stepped forward, put her hands on his face, and she kissed him. Not a friendly peck, not a polite hello, a kiss that started in her fingers and traveled through her whole body, a kiss that said I've been counting the hours, a kiss that made my stomach drop through the floor of the crew lounge and keep falling. They disappeared inside. I switched to the living room camera. There they were, on our couch. The leather sectional we'd picked out together at Pottery Barn, the one that took 8 weeks to deliver, and that Karen had arranged and rearranged until it was perfect. She was laughing. Head thrown back, one hand on his arm, that full-bodied laugh she has, the one that used to make me feel like the luckiest woman alive because I'd caused it. He said something I couldn't hear. The camera's record video, not audio. But whatever it was, it made her lean into him. She tucked herself against his side the way she used to tuck into me during thunderstorms when the wind would rattle the windows and she'd say, "Just hold me until it stops." Then she got up and walked to the kitchen, came back with a bottle of wine. I recognized it immediately. The 2016 Opus 1. We'd bought it at a vineyard in Napa 3 years ago, our 24th anniversary trip. We'd sat on the terrace overlooking the valley, and Karen had held my hand and said, "Let's save this one. Let's open it when something really special happens." She poured 2 glasses, handed him one, clinked hers against his. Something really special indeed. I watched for 47 minutes. I know because I checked the timestamp later. 47 minutes of them talking, touching, laughing. 47 minutes of my wife being someone I didn't recognize with a man I'd never seen. Then I did what any pilot would do. I went back further. Thursday's footage. Same routine, same man, same blue Civic, same 2 o'clock arrival, same sundress, no different this time. The red blouse I liked, the one that made her eyes look darker. The Tuesday before that, same. The Thursday before that, same. I went back week after week after week. 3 months of footage. The visits were clockwork, precise, calculated. Always Tuesday and Thursday. Always at 2 p.m., always during my long-haul flight days. She knew my schedule better than I did. Of course she did. She'd been the one who synced my flight calendar to the family Google account. She said it was so the kids would know when Mom was home. Now I knew the real reason. 42 visits. I counted them all. 42 times this man had walked into my house, kissed my wife, sat on my couch, drank my wine, and left before the neighbor's dinner hour. Except Mrs. Rodriguez. She'd seen, she'd watched, and she'd done what nobody had done for her. She'd picked up the phone. My phone rang. I flinched, looked at the screen. Mrs. Rodriguez. "Did you check?" "I did." "Oh, Linda." Her voice was soft, like she was holding me through the phone. "I'm so sorry, honey. I'm so sorry. Thank you for telling me." My voice sounded hollow even to myself, like someone had scooped out everything inside me and left just the shell. I mean that. Thank you. What will you do? I stared at the frozen image on my phone screen. Karen and this stranger. In my living room, drinking the wine from our anniversary, sitting on the couch we'd picked out together. In my house. I don't know yet, but I won't do anything stupid. Good. Mrs. Rodriguez's voice was firm now, the way a mother talks to a child who's about to touch a hot stove. Think it through. Don't react. Plan. That's what I wish someone had told me. And Linda, I'm here. Whatever you need. Day or night. You call me. I had 3 days before my next flight. 3 days to figure out what to do with the information that was currently burning a hole through my chest like battery acid. I didn't go home that night. I couldn't. If I walked through that door, I'd look at Karen's face and either fall apart or say something I couldn't take back. And I wasn't ready for either. I checked into a Holiday Inn near the airport, room 214. The irony of the number wasn't lost on me, same as the passenger count on today's flight. The room was exactly what you'd expect. Beige walls, stiff comforter, a TV bolted to the dresser, the kind of place that smells like industrial cleaner and other people's sadness. I sat on the edge of the bed in the dark. I didn't cry. Not yet. I think I was too shocked for tears. The body has a way of shutting down the emotions when the information is too big to process all at once, like a circuit breaker tripping before the house catches fire. Instead, I watched the footage again, and again, and again. Looking for clues I'd missed, trying to pinpoint the moment the woman I'd trusted for 27 years had become someone I didn't recognize. Because that was the thing that kept circling in my head, the question I couldn't answer. When did she stop loving me? When did she start wanting something else? When did she look at our life, the house, the kids, the grandchildren, the decades of shared history, and decide it wasn't enough? Was it gradual? A slow erosion like water wearing down stone? Or was it sudden a switch that flipped one day when I wasn't looking? I thought about the last time we'd made love. 3 weeks ago. A Sunday morning, sunlight through the curtains, her hand on my hip. I'd thought it was beautiful. I thought we were still connected in the ways that mattered. Had she been thinking about him, I thought about the birthday card she'd given me last month. To my favorite pilot, you still make my heart take flight. Love always, Karen. I'd kept it on my nightstand. Was it still there right now, propped up against the lamp full of words she didn't mean I thought about our daughter Emily's wedding 2 years ago? Karen and I had danced together at the reception. She'd rested her head on my shoulder and whispered, "We did good, didn't we? Our babies are all grown up and we're still here." I'd cried, actually cried, because I believed her. God, I'd believed her about everything. Around midnight, I opened my laptop and did what I always do in a crisis. I made a plan. 38 years of flying had taught me one critical lesson when facing an emergency: you don't panic. You don't scream. You don't freeze. You assess the situation. You gather data. You identify your options. And then you execute. That's what keeps the plane in the air. That's what brings everyone home safe. I opened a new document and titled it Evidence Log. Entry 1, Tuesday, November 12th, 2:03 p.m. Blue Honda Civic license plate visible in driveway footage. Man approximately 28 to 32 years old. Brown hair. Approximately 6 feet 1 inch. Athletic build. Gym clothes. Enters house at 2:03 p.m. Exits at 5:47 p.m. I worked backward through 3 months of footage. Methodically, clinically, like I was filing an incident report with the FAA. Entry 2, Thursday, November 7th, 2:01 p.m. Same vehicle, same man. Entry 3, Tuesday, November 5th, 1:58 p.m. Same vehicle, same man. Brought flowers, yellow roses. Yellow roses, Karen's favorite. I always brought her yellow roses after long trips. Had she told him that? Had she coached him on how to be a better version of me? Entry 4, Thursday, October 31st, 2:05 p.m. Halloween. Same vehicle, same man. Karen wearing a costume couldn't identify. Greeted him at door with a glass of champagne. Halloween. I'd been flying to Tokyo. I'd called her that night from my hotel room 14 hours ahead. She'd said she was handing out candy to trick-or-treaters and watching a scary movie alone. "I wish you were here," she'd said. "The house feels so empty without you." The house hadn't been empty at all. I kept going. Entry after entry, visit after visit, kiss after kiss. 42 entries total, 3 months of scheduled betrayal. But something else caught my attention as I cataloged the evidence. Something that shifted the ground under me for the second time that night. In several clips, I could see papers on the kitchen counter. Not just mail or magazines documents. The kind with letterheads and signature lines. Official looking. Important. In one clip from 3 weeks ago, the camera caught Karen and this man leaning over the counter together, side by side, heads close, and they were both signing something. I enhanced the image as much as I could on my laptop, zoomed in, adjusted the brightness, squinted at the screen until my eyes burned. I could make out part of a letterhead. Pacific Life Insurance Company, my insurance company. The room tilted, the beige walls pressed in, and the burning in my chest turned into something else entirely. Something cold. Something that felt a lot like fear. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in that Holiday Inn room with the laptop humming and the heater clicking and the sound of trucks on the highway outside, and I thought about what it meant. An affair was one thing. It would break me, sure. It would break our family. But people survived affairs. People got divorced, split the house, rearranged the holidays, learned to be civil at graduations and birthday parties. It was devastating, but it was survivable. But life insurance documents, forged signatures, that was something else entirely. That was a different category of betrayal. The kind that doesn't end in divorce court. The kind that ends in a place you don't come back from. I picked up my phone at 7 a.m. and called my insurance agent. "Hey Tom, it's Linda Morrison." "Linda, how are you still breaking altitude records up there?" Tom Whitaker had been our agent for 15 years. Cheerful guy, always opened with a joke. "I'm good, Tom. Quick question. Did Karen recently make any changes to my life insurance policy?" A brief pause, the sound of a keyboard clicking. "Oh, hey, yeah, actually she did. About 2 months ago. Doubled the coverage. You're up to $4 million now. She said you guys were planning some investments and wanted to make sure everything was covered." He said it casually, like it was normal, like wives double their spouse's life insurance every day for perfectly innocent reasons. "She said it was something you'd both discussed. I've got the signed authorization right here. Why having second thoughts? $4 million is a lot, but with your flight hours and risk profile, the premium increase was pretty reasonable." My signed authorization, that I'd never signed. "No, just wanted to confirm the details." "Thanks, Tom." I hung up, sat there for a long time staring at the phone in my hand. $4 million. Double what we'd had before. And I'd never discussed it with her. Never agreed to it. Never signed anything. The fear in my chest hardened into something sharper. Something with edges. I called my attorney next. Mika. We'd known each other for 15 years, ever since he'd handled the closing on our house. We played golf together twice a month when I was in town. He was the kind of guy who remembered your kids' names and asked about your garden and never once made you feel like the clock was running. "Michael, I need you to pull all my legal documents. Life insurance policies, will property deeds, bank accounts, everything. All of it. I need to see what I actually have versus what I think I have." Silence on his end. Michael was smart enough to hear what I wasn't saying. "Linda, what's going on?" "I can't explain yet, not over the phone. Just please treat this as urgent, like today." "Can you be at my office at 10? "I'll be there at 9:30. 2 hours later, I was sitting across from Michael in his wood-paneled office on 3rd Street, looking at documents I should have been monitoring all along. He had everything spread out on the conference table. Will, life insurance policy, the original and the new one. Property deed. Bank account statements. Investment accounts. Everything Karen and I had built over 27 years of marriage laid out in black and white like a patient's chart before surgery. Michael picked up the life insurance documents first. He held the original policy, the one we'd signed together when we first bought the house, next to the new authorization. "Look at this." He pointed to the signature lines. My name was on both. Linda A. Morrison written in what was supposed to be my handwriting. But Michael had seen my actual signature 1,000 times. On contracts, on checks, on birthday cards, on the scorecard when I beat him by 3 strokes last August. "That's not your handwriting, Linda." He held them side by side. The original loopy, slightly left-leaning, the way I'd been signing my name since I was 18 years old and first got my pilot's license. The new one tighter, more careful. Close, but not right, like someone had practiced it from a photograph. It's close, Michael said, but it's not yours. Whoever did this studied your signature, but they couldn't quite get the pressure on the downstrokes. You bear down harder on the M and the L. This version is lighter, more tentative. What about the will? His jaw tightened. That's the other thing I need to show you. He pulled out a document I didn't recognize. Dated 6 months ago. A new last will and testament for Linda Ann Morrison, complete with my signature at the bottom. Do you remember signing a new will? No. I didn't think so, because this isn't the will I drafted for you. He opened his file and pulled out the original, the one we'd done together 8 years ago after Emily's wedding. Your original will divides your estate equally between your 2 children with trust provisions for the grandchildren's education. Standard, responsible, exactly what you wanted. He tapped the new document. This version, if you die, everything goes to Karen. Immediately. No trust for the children. No educational provisions for the grandchildren. No charitable donations. Every asset, every account, every property straight to your spouse. The room was very quiet. This is also forged, Michael said. He took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. I'd never seen him look this unsettled. In 15 years, the man had been unflappable. Linda, these are felonies. Multiple felonies. Forgery, fraud, potentially more depending on what else we find. There's more. I pulled out my phone, opened the security app, showed him the footage, the affair, the man, the papers on the kitchen counter, the signing of documents together. Michael watched in silence. His face went through several stages: confusion, recognition, concern, and finally something that looked a lot like alarm. Linda, I need to ask you a question, and I need you to think carefully before you answer. He leaned forward. Do you think your wife is planning to hurt you? I'd been avoiding that thought all night, keeping it at arm's length, treating it like turbulence, something to fly through, not something to name. But sitting there in Michael's office with the forged will and the doubled insurance policy and 42 recorded visits from a man I'd never met, I couldn't avoid it anymore. I think my wife is planning to kill me. The words came out calm, steady, the way I'd announce a course correction to my co-pilot. Just the facts. No emotion. Save the emotion for later. Michael's face went pale. We need to call the police. Right now. Not yet. Linda, not yet. I need to understand the full picture. Who is this guy? What's the actual plan if I go to the police now with suspicions and footage of an affair? She hires a lawyer. She claims the insurance increase was a misunderstanding. She says the will was something I forgot I signed. She cries. She denies. And maybe she walks. Michael opened his mouth to argue. I don't want maybe Michael. I want certainty. I want her to have nowhere to hide. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he sat back in his chair. 1 week, he said. I'll give you 1 week to build your case. But Linda, conditions. Non-negotiable. Name them. You don't go anywhere alone with her. You don't eat or drink anything she prepares without someone else present. You don't tell her or anyone connected to her what you know. And if at any point you feel you're in immediate danger, you call 911 first and me second. I nodded. 1 more thing, he added. Whatever you're feeling right now, the anger, the hurt, the betrayal, you put it in a box. Lock it. Don't open it until this is over. Because if you confront her too early, if you tip your hand even once, you won't just lose the case. He looked me dead in the eye. You could lose your life. I sat in my car in Michael's parking lot for 20 minutes before I could drive. Not because I was crying. The tears still hadn't come. I think my body was rationing its emotional responses, doling them out slowly so I wouldn't short-circuit. No, I was sitting there because I was recalculating. Everything. Every memory. Every conversation. Every I love you, and I miss you, and come home safe. Every anniversary dinner and Christmas morning and lazy Sunday in bed. Every time Karen had stood at the arrivals gate holding a sign that said, Welcome home, Captain, with a heart drawn in red marker. I was running all of it through a new filter. The filter of a woman who'd been married to a stranger for God knows how long. Had any of it been real? The question was a black hole. If I let myself fall into it, I'd never climb out. So I didn't. I started the car. I called the number Michael had given me. Sarah Investigations. My name is Linda Morrison. Mikey referred me. I need a private investigator and I need one who's handled cases like mine before. What kind of case are we talking about? Infidelity, insurance fraud, forgery, and possibly— I gripped the steering wheel. Possibly conspiracy to commit murder. A pause. Can you come to my office this afternoon? I'll be there in an hour. Sarah was not what I expected. She was my age, early 60s, silver-streaked hair, pulled back in a no-nonsense ponytail, reading glasses on a chain around her neck. She looked like she could be running a PTA meeting or hosting Thanksgiving dinner. But her eyes told a different story. Sharp, watchful. The kind of eyes that had seen the worst of human behavior and weren't surprised by any of it anymore. Former FBI, 22 years, specialized in financial fraud and domestic cases. Left the bureau to start her own firm after she got tired of the bureaucracy. I liked her immediately. I laid everything out. The cameras, the footage, the insurance increase, the forged will, Mrs. Rodriguez's call. All of it start to finish in the same methodical tone I'd use for a pre-flight briefing. Sarah listened without interrupting, took notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, she set her pen down and looked at me the way a doctor looks at you before delivering results. How long have you been married? 27 years. Kids of 2, Emily 32, Daniel 29, both married, 4 grandchildren between them. And you've been a pilot the whole time. The whole time. International routes for the last 15 years. Gone 3, sometimes 4 days a week. She nodded slowly. Linda, I'm going to be straight with you. What you've described, the affair, the forged documents, the insurance increase, it follows a pattern I've seen before. Not often, but enough times to know what it looks like. And what does it look like? It looks like someone building a plan, layer by layer. A plan that ends with you dead, your wife collecting $4 million, and everyone saying what a tragedy it was. Hearing someone else say it out loud was different than thinking it in my own head. In my head, it was still half a theory, half a fear. When Sarah said it in her calm, professional ex-FBI voice, it became real. I need everything, I told her. Who this man is, where he works, how he's connected to Karen, financial records, communications, phone calls, text messages, emails, everything. I'll need access to her phone records, email accounts, bank statements. Some of that I can get through legal channels. Some of it might require more creative approaches. Whatever you need, I'll get it. She studied me for a moment. Most clients in your position, they're a mess by now. Crying, yelling, breaking things. You're not doing any of that. I'm a pilot. I assess risk for a living. That's exactly what's going to keep you alive. She stood up and shook my hand. Give me 72 hours. I'll have a full background on your mystery man and a picture of your wife's financial activity. In the meantime, I know, don't tip my hand. And Linda, yeah. Go home tonight. Act normal. Kiss her goodnight. Tell her about your flight. Ask about her day. Be the wife she thinks you are. My stomach turned. I know it's hard, Sarah said. But the best advantage you have right now is that she doesn't know you know. The moment she suspects, the game changes. And right now, you're winning. I drove home at 6 p.m., pulled into the driveway, sat there for a full minute staring at the front door. The same front door I'd walked through 10,000 times. The same door Karen had opened for that man 42 times. The rose bushes were blooming. I'd planted them the year we moved in, back when Emily was 5 and Daniel was 2, and the house smelled like fresh paint and possibility. Karen had brought me lemonade while I dug the holes. You're going to ruin your back, she'd said, laughing. Let me help. We'd planted them together. I walked up the path, opened the door. The house smelled like garlic and rosemary. Karen was in the kitchen, her back to me, stirring something on the stove. The radio was playing softly, that oldies station. She liked the one that played the songs we'd danced to at our wedding. She turned when she heard me, and her face lit up with that smile. That familiar, beautiful, treacherous smile. You're home early. I thought you had another 2 days. Schedule changed. They needed someone for a different route. Well, I'm glad you're home. She wiped her hands on a dish towel and came toward me, arms open. I've missed you. She hugged me, pressed her face into my neck the way she always did. She smelled like her shampoo, that coconut one from the blue bottle, and garlic from whatever she was cooking, and something underneath that was just her. Just Karen, just the woman I'd loved for 27 years. I stood there with my arms around her, feeling the warmth of her body against mine, and I thought about those 42 visits, about the wine from Napa, about the forged will, about $4 million and a plane that was supposed to crash. Missed you too, I said, and I held her a little tighter. Not because I loved her. That first week of pretending was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And I once landed a 767 in a crosswind so severe that 3 other pilots had diverted. I once flew 14 hours to Singapore with food poisoning so bad I was gripping the armrest between radio calls. I once made the decision to evacuate 300 passengers in under 90 seconds when smoke filled the cabin on the tarmac in Dallas. None of that compared to sitting across the dinner table from Karen Morrison and smiling. Every morning she'd make coffee. 2 cups, mine with 1 sugar and a splash of oat milk the way I'd taken it for 20 years. She'd set it on the counter next to my reading glasses and say something ordinary, something married. Sleep okay? Did you hear the Hendersons' dog barking last night? Emily called. Mia lost another tooth. Normal, warm, domestic, the texture of a life shared. And I'd answer. I'd sip the coffee. I'd laugh about the dog. I'd ask to see the photo of Mia's gap-toothed grin. I'd be Linda, regular Linda, oblivious Linda, the Linda who flies planes and comes home tired and trusts her wife completely. But the whole time underneath the performance, my brain was running a parallel operation, noting every detail, filing every inconsistency, cataloging every moment Karen said one thing while meaning another. It was like flying in instrument conditions when the clouds are so thick you can't see the horizon, and the only thing keeping you alive is the data. Ignore the feelings. Trust the instruments. My instruments were telling me my wife was planning to kill me. So I trusted the instruments. Tuesday came, my first Tuesday at home since Mrs. Rodriguez's call. I wasn't supposed to be there. My schedule had me on a 3-day trip to London departing Monday night. But I'd swapped routes with another captain, told Karen it was a last-minute change, which happened often enough that she didn't question it. Oh no, she said when I told her. I was going to deep clean the house while you were gone. I had a whole system planned. I'll stay out of your way, I said. Might go to the driving range, hit some balls. Good idea. Get out of the house for a few hours. I'll have the place sparkling by the time you get back. Deep clean. That was the cover story. I almost admired the efficiency of it. I left the house at noon, drove to the end of the block, parked behind the Petersons' RV, where I had a clear sightline to our driveway, but was hidden from view. And I waited. At 1:47 p.m., Karen came outside. She was wearing the red blouse. She looked up and down the street, scanning, making sure the coast was clear, then went back inside, leaving the front door slightly ajar. At 2:02 p.m., the blue Honda Civic turned onto our street. I watched it pull into my driveway. Watched the man step out. Same athletic build. Same easy stride. Same confidence of someone walking into a place where he's welcome. Expected. Wanted. He carried a gym bag over one shoulder and what looked like a bottle of wine in his other hand. He walked up my front path past the rose bushes I'd planted with my own hands and through the door my wife had left open for him. The door closed. I sat in my car for a long time. I'd seen it on camera. I'd watched the footage dozens of times. But seeing it happen in real time in daylight, in my neighborhood on my street, was different. The footage had the quality of a movie. Something happening to someone else. Something removed. Watchable. This was not watchable. This was my life. I drove to the driving range. Hit a bucket of balls so hard my shoulder ached for 3 days. Every swing was a word I couldn't say. Every crack of the club face was a sentence I was saving for later. When I came home at 5:30, the house was indeed sparkling. Karen had vacuumed, mopped, lit a candle in the living room. The couch cushions were freshly fluffed. The wine glasses were back in the cabinet, washed and dried. No trace, no evidence, nothing out of place. Wow, I said, looking around. You weren't kidding about the deep clean. Told you. She kissed my cheek. Dinner's almost ready. I made your favorite, that lemon chicken with the crispy potatoes. My favorite meal, cooked with hands that had been touching someone else 3 hours earlier. I ate every bite. I complimented the seasoning, and I smiled. Sarah called me Wednesday morning. I was sitting in my car outside a coffee shop, the only place I felt safe enough to take calls without Karen overhearing. I've got your man, Sarah said. Jason Mercer, 29 years old, personal trainer at Fit Life Gym on Scottsdale Road. That's the gym Karen joined 8 months ago. 8 months. She signed up in March, started with group classes, then switched to private sessions with Mercer, 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. She told me she was doing yoga, said she found a studio near the grocery store. There is no yoga studio near your grocery store. I checked. Sarah's voice was matter of fact. No judgment, just data. Here's where it gets interesting. Mercer's financial profile is a disaster. Credit score in the 400s. 3 maxed out credit cards. Student loans in default. He dropped out of a kinesiology program at ASU after 2 years. Car payment is 4 months behind. Apartment rent is 2 months behind. He's drowning. Desperate. Exactly. The perfect target for someone who needs a willing accomplice. Someone who can be motivated by money, who's young enough to be manipulated, and who's in deep enough trouble that a way out, any way out, starts to look attractive. I stared through the windshield at the parking lot. A woman about my age walked by with a golden retriever. Normal morning, normal life. The kind of life I thought I had 10 days ago. How did the affair start? Based on her credit card statements, the private training sessions started in April. 3 per week at $80 each. That's $960 a month she's been spending at that gym. By May, the sessions moved to off-hours, evenings, and weekends. By June, the charges shift. She's buying him things. Clothes from Nordstrom. A new phone. Dinners at places you and I would need a reservation 3 weeks out. She was buying him. She was investing in him. There's a difference, and it matters. This wasn't a woman swept off her feet by a younger man. This was strategic. Calculated. She identified someone vulnerable, built dependency, and then I believe recruited him. I closed my eyes. The clinical precision of it was somehow worse than the passion would have been. An affair of the heart I could almost understand. This was an affair of the spreadsheet. Can we prove the murder plot? Not yet. The forged documents and the insurance increase are strong. But a good defense attorney could argue misunderstanding, power of attorney confusion, even that you signed and forgot. We need more. We need them talking about it, planning it. We need them to incriminate themselves beyond any reasonable doubt. Then we need to find out what the plan actually is. Agreed. I'm working on getting access to her email and phone records. Give me another 48 hours. I didn't have to wait 48 hours. Thursday night, Karen went to her book club. At least that's what she called it. Every Thursday, 7 to 10 p.m., she'd been going for years. I had no reason to doubt it was real. She came home smelling like wine and talking about whatever novel they were discussing. But now everything she said had a question mark after it. Every fact she offered was potentially fiction. The moment her car left the driveway, I went to the home office. Our computer sat on the desk we'd bought at an estate sale in Sedona. A big oak thing with brass handles on the drawers. Karen's reading glasses were next to the keyboard. A mug that said "World's Best Grandma" held a collection of pens. I sat down. Opened the laptop, and there it was. She'd left herself logged into her email. Not her main email, the one I knew about, the one linked to our shared accounts and family group chats. A different one. A Gmail account I'd never seen before. karenem.fresh.start@gmail.com. Fresh start. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Part of me, the part that still wanted to believe in the woman I'd married, hesitated. Opening that inbox meant crossing a line. It meant admitting that my marriage wasn't just damaged. It was evidence. I opened it. The inbox was organized, tidy. Karen had always been meticulous. Even her secret life was well filed. There were folders. J for Jason, I assumed. Insurance. Legal. Schedule. I opened J first. Hundreds of emails, going back to June. The early ones were flirtatious, playful, the kind of messages that start with, "I can't stop thinking about last night," and end with promises that sound romantic if you don't know what they're building toward. But the tone shifted around September. The messages became more practical, more businesslike, less "I miss you," and more, "Here's what we need to do next." September 14th. September. From Karen to Jason. The insurance increase went through. She didn't notice. I told the agent it was something we'd discussed. He didn't ask questions. $4 million baby. That's our number. September 28th. From Jason to Karen. What about the will if she dies and the kids inherit everything? We're screwed. October 1st. From Karen to Jason. Handled. New will is signed and filed. Everything comes to me. I practiced her signature for weeks. Even Michael wouldn't be able to tell the difference. She was wrong about that. Michael had told the difference in under 5 seconds. I kept reading. My hands were shaking, but I kept reading. The way you keep flying through turbulence because turning back isn't an option. October 15th. Karen to Jason. She mentioned wanting to rent a small plane for her birthday. A Cessna. Said she wants to fly up the coast for old time's sake solo trip. Can you believe it? She's literally handing us the opportunity. October 16th. Jason to Karen. So what are you thinking? October 16th. Karen to Jason. I'm thinking we let her have her birthday flight, and we make sure she doesn't come back from it. I stopped breathing. Literally stopped. The way the body does when it encounters something so fundamentally threatening that all systems pause just for a second to reassess whether this is real. It was real. My wife, in her own words and her own email, was planning to make sure I didn't survive my birthday. I kept going. I had to. I needed to see all of it. November 3rd. Jason to Karen. I talked to my buddy who works at the airfield. He explained how the fuel system works on a Cessna 172. It's simpler than I thought. The fuel line, the altimeter there are ways to make it look like mechanical failure. No one would suspect sabotage if it's done right. November 5th. Karen to Jason. Good. Research everything. Watch videos. Read manuals. You need to know that plane better than she does. We get one shot at this. November 12th. Karen to Jason. The email that would play in my nightmares for years to come. December 15th. The Cessna rental is confirmed. You know what to do. Make it look like engine failure. Remote area. No witnesses. I'll be devastated. The grieving widow. And then we're free baby. Free and rich. December 15th. My birthday. I sat back in the chair. The house was quiet. The grandfather clock in the hallway ticked the way it always did. The refrigerator hummed. Outside, a dog barked somewhere down the street. Normal sounds. The sounds of a life someone was planning to end. I thought about my grandchildren. Mia, 6, who called me Grammy Captain because she thought I flew a spaceship. Liam, 4, who liked to sit in my lap and pretend the couch was a cockpit. Baby Sophia, who was only 8 months old and had just learned to clap her hands. And Daniel Jr., 3, who had my eyes and Karen's stubbornness, or what I used to think was Karen's stubbornness. Now I wondered if it was something colder. They would have grown up being told Grammy died in a plane crash. A tragic accident. So sad. They would have gone to my funeral. They would have watched Karen cry. Real-looking tears from a woman who'd orchestrated the whole thing. And Karen would have collected $4 million, moved to the Bahamas with a 29-year-old personal trainer, and started her fresh start, while my grandchildren put flowers on my grave. Something broke in me in that moment. Not my heart that had already cracked days ago. This was something deeper. Some fundamental belief about the world. About people. About the person you choose to build a life with. I'd always believed that marriage meant something sacred. That 27 years of shared life created a bond that couldn't be fully severed, even if it frayed. That somewhere in Karen, no matter how much she'd changed, there was still the woman who'd held my hand during my father's funeral, who'd cried when Emily took her first steps, who'd danced with me in the kitchen to Sam Cooke at midnight on our 10th anniversary. That woman was gone. Maybe she'd never existed. Or maybe she had, and this Karen, the one writing emails about fuel lines and altimeters, had consumed her. Like a parasite wearing the skin of its host. I forwarded every email to Sarah N. and Michael. Then I cleared the browser history, wiped any trace that I'd been in the account, and logged out. I went to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, stood at the counter where Karen and Jason had signed forged documents where they'd leaned over papers that were designed to steal everything I'd worked for, including my life. Karen came home at 10:15, smiling, a little flushed from the wine at book club. "How was your evening?" she asked, dropping her purse on the counter. "Quiet. Read a little. Watch the news." "Anything interesting?" "Not really." She came over, wrapped her arms around me from behind, rested her chin on my shoulder. "I love you, Linda." "I love you too." The words tasted like ash. Sarah called an emergency meeting Friday afternoon. Michael was there. We gathered in Sarah's office, a sparse professional space with a wall of file cabinets and a whiteboard that looked like it belonged in a war room. "We have a decision to make," Sarah said. She'd printed out every email. They were spread across the conference table like a crime scene reconstruction. "What Linda found changes everything. This is no longer an infidelity case. This is conspiracy to commit murder." Michael nodded. We need to bring in law enforcement. FBI, ideally. The insurance fraud crosses state lines. Pacific Life is headquartered in California. That gives us federal jurisdiction. If we go to the FBI now, I said, what happens? They investigate, build their own case, arrest Karen and Mercer. How long? Could be weeks, could be months. Federal investigations aren't fast. December 15th is in 4 weeks. My birthday. The date they've planned. The room went quiet. Sarah leaned forward. Here's the other option. We go to the FBI with everything we have, the emails, the forged documents, the footage, the insurance increase, and we propose a controlled operation. Meaning we let them go through with it, under supervision. We give Karen and Jason exactly what they want, the plane, the date, the opportunity. But we control every variable. FBI monitors everything. The plane is inspected before and after Jason has access. You're never actually in danger. Michael shook his head. That's incredibly risky. It's less risky than doing nothing. If we arrest them now based on emails, Karen hires a defense attorney. She claims the emails were fantasy, role-playing, dark humor between lovers. She says the insurance increase was legitimate. She says the will was something Linda agreed to. A jury hears a scorned woman's interpretation of ambiguous evidence, and maybe Karen walks. You think a jury would buy that? I've seen juries buy worse. I spent 22 years at the Bureau watching smart criminals slither through loopholes. Karen Morrison is not stupid. She's been planning this for months. She'll have a story for everything. Sarah turned to me. But if we let them execute the plan, if we catch Jason red-handed sabotaging the aircraft, if we record Karen celebrating your death, if we document every step of the conspiracy in real time, there's no story, there's no excuse, there's no loophole, it's airtight. And if something goes wrong, nothing will go wrong. That's what people say before things go wrong. Sarah half smiled. Fair. So let me put it this way. The FBI will have the plane under 24-hour surveillance from the moment the rental is confirmed. They'll install their own cameras inside the hangar and inside the aircraft. A decoy pilot, not you, will take off on December 15th. The plane will be inspected after Jason's tampering and made safe. The engine failure will be staged. You will be in protective custody the entire time. She paused. You will never be in that plane. You will never be in danger. But Karen and Jason will believe you're dead. And in the minutes after they think they've killed you, they will say and do things that will put them in prison for a very long time. I looked at Michael. He looked like a man who'd swallowed something sour. I don't love it, he said. But she's right. If we want this to stick, really stick, we need them on tape. Not just planning, executing, celebrating, claiming the money. So I play along, I said. I go home. I tell Karen I'm renting the Cessna. I act excited about my birthday flight, and I let her think she's winning. Can you do that? Sarah asked. I thought about Mia calling me Grammy Captain, about Liam in my lap making engine noises, about baby Sophia's clapping hands. I've been doing it for a week already. I can do it for 4 more. Monday morning, I contacted the FBI. Agent Patricia Morrison, no relation, and yes, I appreciated the cosmic joke was assigned to my case. She was in her mid-40s, built like a marathon runner with a handshake that could crack walnuts. She'd spent 12 years in the Violent Crimes Division and had handled 4 insurance murder conspiracies before mine. Mrs. Morrison, she said, and I almost laughed at the formality of it. What your wife and her accomplice are planning qualifies as conspiracy to commit murder, wire fraud, mail fraud, and insurance fraud. Each of those carries federal time. Combined, we're looking at 20 to life. What do you need from me? Everything you've already gathered. The security footage, the emails, the PI's financial report. And then I need you to do something very difficult. Go home and pretend. Go home and perform. Every conversation you have with Karen from this point on will be recorded. She held up a small device no bigger than a shirt button. You'll wear this whenever you're with her. We need her talking about the plan, encouraging the flight, confirming the date. The more she says on tape, the tighter the net. And Jason? We'll have surveillance on him 24/7 starting today. His phone is already tapped. We got the warrant this morning. His apartment will be monitored. Every move he makes between now and December 15th will be documented. She leaned back in her chair. Linda, I want to be honest with you. In my experience, the hardest part of these operations isn't the danger. It's the performance. You have to go home to a woman who is actively planning your murder and convince her that you love her. You have to be warm when every instinct tells you to run. You have to be trusting when every cell in your body is screaming. Can you do that? Agent Morrison, I've been flying commercial aircraft for 38 years. I've smiled at passengers while one engine was on fire. I've served coffee during turbulence that had the flight attendants in tears. I've announced minor delays while air traffic control was telling me we had 6 minutes of fuel left. I met her eyes. I can pretend for 4 weeks. She almost smiled. Good, then let's talk about December 15th. The next 2 weeks were the most carefully choreographed performance of my life. Every morning coffee with Karen. Conversation about the grandkids, the weather, the neighbors' new landscaping. Normal. Easy. Married. Every evening dinner together. Sometimes I cooked. Sometimes she did. We watched TV on the couch. Our couch, the one where she'd sat with Jason, the one I now thought of as a crime scene. We talked about Christmas plans. She suggested we host this year. The whole family, she said. All the kids, all the grandkids. One big celebration. She was planning a celebration, all right, just not the one she was describing. And every day I wore the wire. Every word was captured. Every lie was documented. I brought up the birthday flight gradually, casually, the way you'd mention any weekend plan. You know what I've been thinking about? Karen was folding laundry, matching socks. Such a normal thing to do when you're plotting murder. I want to rent that Cessna for my birthday. Fly up the coast. Maybe up to Big Sur. Just a day trip. Me in the sky and nothing else. She looked up, and I watched her face cycle through micro-expressions so fast that anyone who wasn't looking for them would have missed them entirely. Surprise just a flicker. Not because I'd mentioned it. She already knew I was thinking about it. The surprise was that I was bringing it up now on her timeline, right when she needed me to. Then calculation. A quick, almost imperceptible tightening around her eyes. The look of someone checking boxes on a mental list. Then warmth. Practiced perfect warmth. Oh, Linda, that sounds wonderful. You deserve it. You work so hard. When's the last time you flew just for fun? Years. Too many years. Then do it. Book it. Make it your birthday present to yourself. You don't mind. You won't be lonely on my birthday. Honey, she put down the socks, came over to me, put her hands on my shoulders. I want you to have this. Fly up the coast. Clear your head. Enjoy the view. I'll have a cake waiting when you get back. No, you won't, I thought. You'll have a phone call to Jason waiting, and a performance of grief waiting, and a $4 million insurance claim waiting. But I smiled. I'll book it tomorrow. Perfect. That night, the wire picked up Karen making a call from the bathroom. She thought I was asleep. She thought the door was thick enough. She was wrong on both counts. It's happening, she whispered. She's booking the plane. December 15th, just like we planned. A pause. Jason's voice muffled but audible. Everything is confirmed on my end. I know exactly what to do. You're sure no mistakes, no traces? Karen, I've been over it 100 times. The fuel line, the altimeter. It'll look like a mechanical failure. These old Cessnas have issues all the time. No one will think twice. Good. And after you grieve, I disappear for a while. We wait. We collect. And then we live. Finally. I love you, Karen. I know, baby. Soon. Just a few more weeks. I lay in the dark, listening to my wife plan my death from the bathroom 12 feet away. The ceiling fan turned slowly above me. The shadows moved across the wall the way they always did. Everything in that room was the same as it had been for 27 years. Everything except the woman in the bathroom and the woman in the bed. Because I wasn't the same Linda anymore either. I called Mrs. Rodriguez the next day, not because I needed information the FBI had that covered. I called because I needed to talk to someone who understood. How are you holding up, honey? She asked. I could hear her coffee cup clinking against the saucer. She always used the good china even when she was alone. Life's too short for ugly dishes, she'd once told me. I'm holding. That's all anyone can do sometimes. Just hold. Mrs. Rodriguez, can I ask you something? Anything. When you found out about your husband about the other woman, did you ever look back and see the signs, the things you missed? She was quiet for a moment. Every single one. They lit up like runway lights once I knew the truth. The late nights he said were work. The new cologne I didn't buy him. The way he'd angle his phone away from me when he was texting. The sudden interest in jogging at 6 a.m. on Saturdays. My Eduardo couldn't jog to the mailbox. She laughed softly. The kind of laugh that comes from a place beyond hurt, where the pain has been composted into something almost useful. But here's the thing, Linda. You can't blame yourself for not seeing it. When you love someone, you give them the benefit of the doubt. That's not stupidity. That's love. The failure belongs to the person who abused that trust, not the person who offered it. I felt the tears start then. Finally, after more than 2 weeks of being dry-eyed and clinical and pilot calm, the tears came. Not a flood, just a slow leak, like a faucet that can't quite close all the way. She's going to pay for this, I said. They both are. I know they will, and I'll be right here when it's done. Bring wine. I thought you only drank coffee. Honey, when this is over, we're both going to need something stronger than coffee. December 10th, 5 days before the scheduled flight. I sat in the FBI field office watching surveillance footage of Jason Mercer entering a hardware store in Tempe. He bought a set of precision tools, a small flashlight, and a can of solvent. The cashier didn't look twice at him. Why would she? Just another guy buying stuff. Agent Morrison pointed at the screen. He's assembling a kit. Everything he needs to access the fuel system and the altimeter without leaving obvious tool marks. This kid did his homework. He's not a kid. He's a 29-year-old man who agreed to murder someone for money. She nodded. Fair point. What about the airfield? Cessna is reserved under your name at Pacific Flight Services. Small field, minimal security after hours. We've already installed covert cameras in the hangar and inside the aircraft. Motion sensors on all access points. The moment Mercer shows up, we'll know. And the decoy. Agent Jeffries. He's a certified pilot with 3,000 hours in single-engine aircraft. He'll take off on schedule radio and engine trouble and return immediately. The malfunction will be real enough to trigger an investigation, but completely controlled. At no point will the aircraft be in actual danger. And me. You'll be here. In this building, in protective custody, watching everything on these monitors. I looked at the screens, 6 of them, covering every angle of the airfield, the hangar, the plane, and Jason Mercer's apartment. I have one request, I said. What's that? When Karen gets the call when she thinks I'm dead, I want to hear it in real time, every word. Agent Morrison studied me. Are you sure? I need to know. I need to hear what she sounds like when she thinks she's won. I need to know if there's even a single second of real grief. One honest moment. Anything. And if there isn't, then I'll know who I married. That night I went home for the last time as Karen's wife. I didn't know it then, not consciously, but some part of me understood. Some deep primal part that recognized endings the way animals sense storms before they arrive. Karen had made pot roast. My mother's recipe, the one I'd taught her in our first year of marriage when she couldn't boil water without burning it. She'd learned it perfectly over the years. Slow-cooked falling apart with carrots and potatoes soft enough to melt on your tongue. Special dinner for my birthday girl, she said. A few days early, but I couldn't wait. She'd set the table with the good plates, lit candles, poured wine, not the Napa bottle. That was already gone, shared with Jason, though she didn't know I knew that. You're spoiling me, I said. You deserve it. We ate. We talked. She told me about a book she was reading, some thriller about a woman who disappears. I couldn't tell if the irony was intentional or not. After dinner, I washed the dishes while she dried. Side by side at the kitchen sink the way we'd done it 10,000 times. Our elbows bumping, the warm water running, the quiet intimacy of a shared task. Karen, can I ask you something? And I want you to be honest. She tensed, just slightly, just enough for me to feel it in the air between us. Of course. Are you happy with us, with our marriage? She put down the dish towel, turned to face me. And in that moment she was so convincing, so utterly, perfectly, heartbreakingly convincing, that even knowing what I knew, even with the wire taped to my chest and the FBI listening in real time, some tiny, foolish, stubborn part of me wanted to believe her. Linda, she put her hands on my face. Her palms were warm and damp from the dishes. I am so happy. You are the love of my life. Our children, our grandchildren. This home, everything we've built it means the world to me. She kissed me, softly, the way she used to kiss me when we were young. I wouldn't trade any of it. Not for anything. $4 million, I thought. You'd trade it for exactly $4 million. I love you, I said, because the wire was recording, because Agent Morrison was listening, because this was evidence, and because God help me, some broken part of me still meant it. I love you too, Karen said. Now go get some rest. You have a big day coming up. Yes, I did, just not the one she was imagining. December 14th, the night before, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed listening to Karen breathe. Slow, even, the breathing of someone at peace, the breathing of someone who believed that tomorrow all her problems would be solved. At 2 a.m. I heard her get up, quietly, carefully, the way you move when you don't want to wake someone. I kept my eyes closed, kept my breathing steady. She padded down the hall. The stairs creaked third step from the bottom, the one I'd been meaning to fix for 5 years. Then silence. I waited 3 minutes. Then I followed. She was in the kitchen, laptop open. The blue glow of the screen illuminated her face in the dark. She was typing something. Fast, focused. I made a noise deliberately. A cough, a shuffle. She closed the laptop instantly, looked up with a startled smile. Can't sleep either, she asked. Excited about tomorrow, I guess. My adventurous wife, she smiled. It was radiant. It was terrifying. I poured a glass of water, stood there, looked at her. 27 years. 2 children brought into this world. Christmases where we stayed up until 3 a.m. assembling bikes and dollhouses. The night Emily was born and Karen held my hand so tight she left bruises. Daniel's first Little League game when he struck out 3 times, and we told him he was the bravest kid on the field. Our 20th anniversary in Paris, standing on the Pont des Arts Bridge, and Karen saying, "Promise me we'll always be us. Always be us." Karen, I want you to know something. What's that? Whatever happens tomorrow, whatever happens with anything, I want you to know that I gave this marriage everything I had. Every flight I took, every mile I flew, every night I spent in a hotel room 5,000 miles away, I did it for us, for this family. Something flickered in her eyes, something I couldn't read. Guilt, sadness, or just the reflection of the laptop screen. I know you did, honey. Her voice was soft, almost tender. I know. Do you? Of course. She got up, came to me, wrapped her arms around my waist, rested her head against my chest right above the wire that was recording every heartbeat. Now go to sleep, she whispered. Tomorrow's going to be a beautiful day. I held her, for the last time. I held the woman I'd loved for 27 years, the woman who was sending me to die in the morning, and I memorized the feeling. Not because I wanted to keep it, but because I wanted to remember what betrayal felt like when it wore the face of someone you trusted with your life. Good night, Karen. Good night, my love. Happy almost birthday. December 15th, my birthday, and the day my wife thought I would die, I left the house at 6 a.m. The sky was still dark, that deep Arizona winter dark that makes the stars look close enough to touch. The air was cold and clean and smelled like desert sage. Karen was in bed, asleep, or pretending to be. I stood in the bedroom doorway for a long moment, watched the shape of her under the covers, the rise and fall of her breathing, the way her hair fanned across the pillow, silver-streaked now like mine, because we'd grown old together. We were supposed to grow old together. I didn't kiss her goodbye. I couldn't. I picked up my flight bag, walked through the kitchen where the birthday card she'd left on the counter said, "To my favorite pilot, fly high today," in her careful handwriting, and I closed the front door behind me for the last time as her wife. Sarah picked me up 3 blocks away. Black SUV, engine running, coffee in the cup holder. Ready? As I'll ever be. Happy birthday, by the way. Thanks. Let's go catch my wife trying to murder me. The FBI had been busy overnight. Agent Morrison met us at the field office at 6:30. The surveillance room was lit up like mission control. 6 screens, 2 tech operators, a direct feed to every camera at the airfield inside the hangar, inside the Cessna, and outside Jason Mercer's apartment. He moved at 2:47 a.m., Morrison said, pulling up footage on the center screen. There he was, Jason Mercer, dressed in black, baseball cap pulled low, moving through the airfield parking lot like a shadow. He'd cut the chain on the side gate bolt cutters purchased at the same hardware store where he'd bought the rest of his kit. The hangar camera caught everything. He found the Cessna in Bay 4, used a flashlight with a red filter smart harder to spot from a distance. He opened the engine cowling with practiced hands. Not hesitant, not fumbling. He'd rehearsed this. "Watch," Morrison said. On screen, Jason reached into the engine compartment. His hands moved with precision. First, the fuel line, he loosened a connection just enough to create a slow leak. Not immediate, not obvious on the ground. The kind of leak that would starve the engine at altitude somewhere over the mountains, somewhere remote, somewhere no one would reach in time. Then the altimeter. He adjusted something I couldn't see clearly, but the FBI's aviation expert had already briefed me. A recalibrated altimeter would show a false reading. I'd think I was at 8,000 feet when I was really at 4,000. In mountainous terrain, that meant flying straight into a ridge. Belt and suspenders. Two separate kill mechanisms. If the fuel didn't get me, the mountains would. "He's thorough," Morrison said. "Someone taught him well." "Karen sent him YouTube videos," Sarah said quietly. She was reading from her phone. We pulled his search history. Cessna 172 fuel system diagram. How altimeters work. Small plane crash investigations. Undetectable aircraft sabotage. All searched from his apartment IP between October and November. He Googled how to kill me. He did. On the internet, where everything is tracked forever. Criminals are rarely as smart as they think they are. Jason finished his work in 22 minutes, closed the cowling, wiped down every surface he'd touched, put the tools back in his bag, walked out the way he'd come in. At 3:09 a.m., he was back in his car. At 3:24, he was home. He probably slept well, the sleep of a man who believed he'd just gotten away with murder. He hadn't. 7:45 a.m., 15 minutes before the scheduled takeoff. I was in the surveillance room with Sarah Michael and Agent Morrison, coffee going cold in my hands, eyes on the screens. "The aircraft has been inspected and made safe," Morrison confirmed. "Our team reversed the fuel line tampering and recalibrated the altimeter. The decoy malfunction has been programmed. Agent Jeffries will experience a visible engine sputter at approximately 3,000 feet, enough to trigger a return and an official incident report. Absolutely no danger." And the call to Karen. "Scripted and ready. Pacific Flight Services has been briefed. They'll call her at approximately 8:50 after Jeffries radios in the emergency." I nodded, stared at the screen showing the airfield. The Cessna sat there in the morning light white with a blue stripe. A beautiful little plane. The kind of plane I'd learned to fly in 40 years ago when I was 23, and the sky was the only place that made sense. Karen had tried to turn it into my coffin. "Jeffries is in position," someone said over the radio. "Copy. All teams standing by." 8:00 a.m. exactly. On the monitor, Agent Jeffries, wearing my flight jacket and a baseball cap roughly my build from a distance, climbed into the Cessna. He went through the pre-flight checklist, started the engine, taxied to the runway. The plane lifted off at 8:03. I watched it climb into the Arizona sky, this tiny machine carrying a man pretending to be me, flying a plane that had been sabotaged by my wife's lover on my birthday, while I sat in a room full of federal agents and tried to remember how to breathe. 8:11 a.m., Jeffries radioed in. "Pacific Tower, this is November 724 Bravo. I'm experiencing engine irregularity at 3,200 feet, requesting immediate return." "Copy 724 Bravo. You are cleared for an immediate return. Emergency services on standby." The sputter was convincing. On camera, you could see a thin trail of smoke, theatrical part of the staging as the Cessna banked and descended. Jeffries brought it down smooth as glass, taxied to the hangar, shut down the engine. It was done. Now came the part I'd been dreading. 8:47 a.m. Karen's phone rang. I was watching through the living room camera. She was sitting at the kitchen table. Coffee, toast. The morning paper, she still read the actual paper, one of her old-fashioned habits that I used to find charming. She picked up on the second ring. "Mrs. Morrison, this is John at Pacific Flight Services. I'm afraid I have some concerning news." I had a direct feed to the call through the FBI's tap on her phone. Every word crystal clear. "Your wife's aircraft experienced a serious malfunction shortly after takeoff this morning." "Oh my God!" Karen's hand went to her mouth. "Is she okay?" The plane went down approximately 15 miles off the planned route, in a mountainous area east of the coast. We have search and rescue en route, but Mrs. Morrison, I need you to prepare yourself. No, 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 no! She stood up. The chair scraped the floor. Her voice cracked beautifully. Please, please tell me she's alive. Please. We're doing everything we can. I'll call you as soon as we have any updates. Oh God. Oh God, oh God. She hung up. The kitchen camera showed her standing by the table phone pressed against her chest, face crumpled in grief. Tears streaming, shoulders shaking. She grabbed the counter for support like her legs might give out. It was the performance of a lifetime. I counted. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. At 45 seconds, I checked the timestamp 3 times afterward to make sure Karen stopped crying. Just stopped, like turning off a faucet. She wiped her face with the back of her hand, took a breath, straightened her spine, and called Jason. It's done. 2 words, flat, calm, businesslike. Not a trace of the sobbing woman from 45 seconds ago. They just called. The plane went down. Search and rescue is looking, but they said to prepare myself. A pause. Which means she's dead, Jason. It worked. Are you okay? His voice was shaky. The weaker one. The follower. I'm perfect. Give it 3 days for them to officially call off the search. Then we start the insurance claim. 1 week after that, we'll be in the Bahamas, just like we planned. I can't believe we actually did it. I told you it would work. Now listen, you need to act natural. Go to work, normal routine. Hit the gym, train your clients. We cannot see each other until after the funeral. Understood? Understood. I mean it, Jason. No calls, no texts, no showing up at the house. After the funeral, after the insurance clears, we disappear. New life, new everything. I love you, Karen. I know, baby. Soon. Soon we'll have everything we ever wanted. She hung up, set the phone down, and then she did something that I will never forget as long as I live. She smiled. Not a relieved smile. Not a complicated smile. A genuine, radiant, satisfied smile. The smile of a woman who has just accomplished something she's been working toward for months. Then she picked up her coffee, sat back down, and finished her toast. My toast. In my kitchen, at my table, on my birthday. I sat in that surveillance room and felt something inside me die. Not the part that loved her, that had been dying slowly for weeks ever since the first footage. This was the last ember, the tiny, stubborn flame that had survived everything else. The one that had whispered late at night that maybe there was still an explanation. Maybe I'd misunderstood. Maybe the woman who'd held my hand for 27 years was still in there somewhere. She wasn't. That flame went out. And in its place, nothing. Not anger, not sadness. Just a vast, quiet nothing. Like the silence at 40,000 feet above the weather, above the noise where the sky turns dark blue and the world below is just a map. You okay? Sarah asked quietly. She'd been watching my face. Yeah, I said. Let's finish this. What happened next wasn't part of the FBI's plan. It was part of mine. My phone buzzed. Mrs. Rodriguez. Linda, I know you're not supposed to be on your phone, but Karen just left the house. I looked at the monitor. Sure enough, the driveway camera showed Karen's car backing out. She'd changed clothes, black dress, sunglasses, the grieving widow camera ready. She's heading east on Camelback, Mrs. Rodriguez said. How do you know that? Because I'm following her. You're Mrs. Rodriguez, you're 82 years old. And I've got a full tank of gas and nothing on my schedule. She's turning onto Scottsdale Road. I think she's going to his apartment. That complex on 68th Street. Agent Morrison looked at me. I looked at Sarah. She's going to Jason's place, I said. She can't wait. She thinks she's won and she can't even wait until after the funeral. Morrison was already moving. I'll scramble a team. We can have agents at Mercer's building in 30 minutes. I want to be there. Absolutely not. I want to be there when she sees me. I want to look her in the face. Linda, that's not Agent Morrison. I stood up. That woman ate toast while she thought I was burning in a plane crash. She smiled. She finished her coffee. She called her boyfriend and planned a vacation to the Bahamas. On my birthday. With my money. After killing me. I kept my voice level. Pilot voice. The voice that keeps 300 people calm when the world is falling apart. I have cooperated with every part of this investigation. I've worn the wire. I've played the role. I've slept next to a woman who was planning my murder, and I've told her I loved her every single night. You owe me this. I need to see her face. Morrison looked at me for a long time. You ride in the van. You stay back until the building is secured, and when you go in, you don't touch anyone. You don't threaten anyone. You say what you need to say, and then you walk out and let us do our jobs. Deal. We pulled up outside Jason's apartment complex at 9:40 a.m., a clean, forgettable building. Stucco walls, palm trees, a pool nobody was using. The kind of place where young people live paycheck to paycheck and dream about something better. Karen's car was in the visitor lot. FBI surrounded the building. Plainclothes agents at every exit. Local police on standby 2 blocks away. Sarah had already accessed the building's lobby camera through channels I didn't ask about. On her tablet, I could see the lobby feed. Karen was there, in Jason's arms, laughing. She was wearing the black dress, the morning dress, but she was laughing, head thrown back, hands on his chest. The same laugh I'd heard 10,000 times across dinner tables and holiday gatherings and quiet evenings at home. She was laughing on the morning of my murder. We have enough, Agent Morrison said through the radio. All teams prepare to move. We arrest them both on my signal. I looked at Sarah. She handed me the wire. One last performance, she said. I clipped it on, straightened my jacket, took a breath. Let's go. The elevator to the 3rd floor took 11 seconds. I counted every one. I'd flown through thunderstorms. I'd navigated emergency landings with a cabin full of screaming passengers. I'd made decisions at 30,000 feet that had less than 3 seconds of margin for error. But walking down that hallway beige carpet, fluorescent lights, the smell of someone's microwave breakfast leaking under a door was the hardest thing I've ever done. Apartment 3C. I knocked. Footsteps. The sound of laughter cutting short. A pause. Jason opened the door. The color drained from his face like someone had pulled a plug. His mouth opened. No sound came out. His eyes went wide, that primal animal recognition of something impossible, something that shouldn't be standing in front of you, something dead that isn't dead. What how? I pushed past him. Karen was on the couch, wine glass in hand at 9:45 in the morning, celebrating. She was mid-laugh when she saw me, and everything stopped. The glass slipped from her fingers. Red wine hit the white carpet and spread outward like a slow-motion explosion, like blood, like evidence. Linda, it came out as a whisper, barely a sound, more like the air leaving a balloon. Surprise, I kept my voice level, steady, Captain Morrison making an announcement. I hear congratulations are in order. You two must be so relieved your plan worked. I don't understand. Karen stood up. Her hands were trembling. The black dress suddenly looked absurd. They said the plane crashed. They said they lied. Well, technically I lied. Or rather, the FBI lied on my behalf. I let that word land. FBI. Watched it hit her like a physical force. Turns out when you plot to murder someone, especially when there's insurance fraud involved, and forged documents, and a paper trail that stretches back 6 months, the federal authorities take it pretty seriously. Behind me, Jason bolted. He didn't make it 3 steps. 2 agents were waiting in the hallway. He was on the ground, face against the beige carpet, hands cuffed behind his back, before his brain finished calculating the escape route. Don't move, one of them said. Unnecessary. He wasn't going anywhere. I turned back to Karen. Her face was cycling through emotions like a slot machine that couldn't land on a winner. Shock, fear, confusion, and then there it was, calculation. I could see it happening behind her eyes. The gears turning. The strategist looking for an angle and exit, a story that might still save her. Richard, Linda, whatever you think is happening. I know exactly what's happening. I pulled out my phone, pressed play on the recording from this morning. Her voice clear as church bells. It's done. The plane went down. Give it 3 days. Then we start the insurance claim. 1 week after that, we'll be in the Bahamas. The calculation drained from her face. What replaced it was something I'd never seen before. Not in 27 years. Not in any fight, any argument, any difficult conversation we'd ever had. Emptiness. The mask was off. All the masks were off. And underneath them, all nothing. Just a woman sitting on a stranger's couch in a morning dress with red wine soaking into the carpet, and federal agents in the hallway, and 27 years of marriage dissolving like sugar in rain. Why? I asked. It was the only question that mattered. The only one I needed answered. Not how, not when, not what were you thinking. Just why. Karen sat down slowly, hands in her lap. She looked up at me, and when she spoke, the voice wasn't the Karen I knew. It wasn't the warm, loving wife. It wasn't the cold, calculating planner. It was someone else entirely. Someone exhausted. Because I was tired, Linda. Tired of waiting for you to come home. Tired of raising our children alone while you were somewhere over the Atlantic. Tired of being the woman who stayed while you got to leave. So you decided to kill me. I decided to start over, with someone who was actually here. And yes, the money made it possible. $4 million buys a lot of new starts. It buys freedom, the kind I never had with you. I looked at her, really looked, searched her face for the woman who'd danced with me at Emily's wedding, the woman who'd whispered, "We did good," with tears in her eyes, the woman who'd planted rose bushes with me in the front yard 30 years ago. She wasn't there. Agent Morrison walked in, badge visible, voice clear. "Karen Morrison, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder insurance fraud forgery and attempted fraud. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." Karen looked at me one last time while they put the cuffs on. "I really did love you once. A long time ago. I thought about that for exactly 1 second. "I don't believe you," I said, and I walked out,